Hello and welcome back for another match of Astral Slide. We are on the play against another famous Legacy player that you may recognize, this time from the West Coast, Joe Lisette, playing, if I recall Twitter correctly, his blue-white Tezzeret deck. Regardless, we're keeping. We've got Life from the Lone Wasteland. I can't imagine mulliganing that, especially when we can actually cast our Life from the Loam, so like, can't lose. We're going to actually lead on Forgotten Cave, since what we may well end up doing is activating Wasteland and then loaming back Wasteland. And if that happens, then we want to be able to we want to be able to actually cast Life from the Loam on turn 2. So, our opponent has conceded from the game to the Life from the Loam Wasteland lock. They've had enough. Fortunately, my sick Twitter research has revealed all, and by revealed all I mean I saw that he was playing Blue-White Tezzeret on his Twitch announcement, which you should, probably follow. I think he's like Oarsman on Twitter, maybe Oarsman79. It's findable. Anyway, some permanent hate in, some creature hate out. I don't want to dial it back too far on any one thing, and the fact that he's playing Seachrome Coast means that I don't really want to rely on choke. So we're just going to keep it like this and see how things develop. Obviously, Crozen Grip Eternal Witness is the nut, and Punishing Fire I could write 2 articles about. One about just how good it is in general, and 2 about how good it is for the exact types of decks that want to do what Punishing Fire asks you for. So Punishing Fire is a board control card, right? Once upon a time, you sort of picked between being a quote-unquote stack control deck or a quote-unquote board control deck. So very simply put, you have removal spells and counter spells, and if you play a bunch of removal spells, then you're a board control deck. If you play a bunch of counter spells, you're a stack control deck. And control is at its best when counter spells are at their best, just because if you can get out in front of them and counter everything, then you don't really need to play removal spells. See also Spell Pierce and Mana Leak from Callblade. You didn't need to play removal, and when you did, it was Condemn and Into the Roil. It was incredibly cheap. Regardless, we are... So we're gonna play EE on 2, I think. We just have to figure out which of our cycling lands we want to ship. And which of our actual lands we want to get. I think we're going to ship Step and get Savannah. Yeah. No. So we want red. Well, we need green at some point. Well, oh, we have green. Okay. Yeah, we don't want Savannah. Okay. Plateau, and then it doesn't really matter what we ship. Except it does, because we want to be able to play Forgotten Cave and then cast Seismic Assault. But yeah, since we have a second Engineered Explosives, we're fine just trading our 4 mana for their 2. Even though their 2 is cheaper, right? Because it comes off of 1 land. I assume they're oh Jesus! How is this a real thing? Oh, rude. Rude. Okay. Well, this is going well for us. We are not cycling this Forgotten Cave, FYI. So, if we draw another land, then we can play Seismic Assault and just nug upstairs with both lands. I presume that the deck, I don't know, playing Detention Sphere and Jace, like, probably has some Force Wills in there. Seachrome Coast, Jesus. Relic, that's rude. I don't think we want to reveal that. I think we just want to take out some of their mana. I don't think we want to play this land. Managing lands in this deck is just like so incredibly hard and feels a lot more marginal than Legacy sort of pays you for. Like, figuring out should I like play, cycle, or hold this land is like a ton of decision making capacity in this deck, but the upside of making the right decision is just like so marginal when compared to like generic other decisions. Like when you activate Deathrite Shaman, it's like, do I want to Grim Lavamancer them or like +2 myself? Like that's a much more meaningful decision, and like what card you target matters. Like how you sequence your stuff just like has a much higher impact on the game. Whereas like this, you have to make with very little information, and like it doesn't feel like there's a ton of way to know sort of what's correct. Also, I'm really glad that we don't have choke against like these lands. That's hideous. Okay. Vendilion Click. Okay, so they're going to see our hand and take Astral Slide. So, rather, they take Seismic Assault, sorry. Since, like, I don't know, they're actually pretty well protected from Loam. So, like, this Seismic Assault is just a very fair card. It's about as good as Valakut the Molten Pinnacle in, like, a big mono-red deck with Thundermaw Hellkite, which is to say not very at all. Like, the true power of Seismic Assault is activating it 3 times per turn. And that's not happening in this game because of Relic. But yeah. Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, so he's playing Yeah, still just Tezzeret, right? Like Tezzeret, Thopter Sword, and then the Mystic Backdoor. So now I think I want to cycle. Neither of their cards are particularly appealing to slide out. I'm going to be real straight with you guys here. It's not great. I don't particularly want to activate Astral Slide targeting either of these creatures. So, there's that. Also, I have concluded that at no point in any of these games was I particularly thrilled about drawing Tibalt, and while I'm certainly interested in, like, you know, Tibalt theoretically, Tibalt in practice is just, like, miserable. It's just... I know that you guys are probably, like, tearing your hair out and screaming about this right now, but, like, Tibalt is not appealing. Like, drawing it here would do nothing to get us back in the game. Like, I would rather have Howling Mine. Like, at least then... Jesus Christ. Okay, we're not winning this one. At least then, like, Howling Mine could draw us into cards and survive to draw us into more cards. Whereas Tibalt is card neutral. Like, it's card neutral and it's no Dack Fayden. Like, you don't get to choose what you discard, and so, like, a ton of the time you're just like, draw a card, discard my best one. And, you know, it only happens, like, 1 time out of 3. But, like, when compared with something like Jace, where, like, it's cast Brainstorm, keep all of your good ones, or, like, Liliana is, like, discard your worst card every time and make them discard a card. Like, Tibalt is just incredibly underwhelming. And you have to play red. Which, as we've seen, mixed results. Red's no blue. But, okay, so we've got the turn 1 Life from the Loam again. This time with the ability to get back 2 lands. So we're gonna do that. And if they snipe it with Relic, then, like, that just is, but... Absolutely dredging. 100%, and it's not close. So... we can cycle this first, and then rebuy the non-Windswept Heath cards since we dredged 2 of our 4 fetchable lands. Cool. So, we have now entirely mitigated Mox Diamond's drawback. We have exploded out of the gates, and we can knock down whatever our opponent is doing. So, I think we're going to Dredge Loam and hope to hit Grove and Punishing Fire. Not quite, but can't have everything. Fortunately, cards are cheap in this world. We've got Witness and Scroll Rack and Life from the Limb, so just like tons of stuff. And even if they get Thopter Sword going, we can wipe all of it away except for the tokens with a single EE. So speaking of EE, we actually probably wanted to get Slide there, so we can slide out our Witness and then get EE with the mana to cast it, but say Livy. So we're gonna cycle 2 cards on end step. Hope that our Loam doesn't get clicked. Or that our EE doesn't get clicked. This deck definitely rewards a lot of forward planning. In just like the grinding out edges way. Which isn't necessarily like super enjoyable. Your mileage, of course, may vary. But yeah, we definitely should have witnessed back Astral Slide. And had that in hand instead of this EE. Although if he has Relic, then we just look like a genius. But I don't think that retconning an explanation is the right way to play Magic, and we should have just targeted Engineered Explosives. Or rather, Astral Slide. Definitely happy about my decision to not play Scroll Rack. Really happy that that's in our hand and not in play. So their hand, Sword of the Meek, bunch of other cards. And we can just start powering through our deck with Life from the Limb. Unfortunately, well, actually, I'm fine with getting back fetch lands, since we just get to put them back into our deck with Scroll Rack. So, they still serve a purpose. I assume this is Big Tezzeret? Big Tezzeret. Okay. What do you have for us today? Big Tezzeret. Okay. Looks like you have 2 mana artifact. I would be happy to explode it. So we're going to attack Tezzeret. He's going to activate. We're going to Punishing Fire him. And then I think we probably got a little cute there. I don't think we needed to do that. Also, we were supposed to cycle these cards. This is not for the short of attention. That I can guarantee you. So yeah, we were, I think, just supposed to cast and activate EE. Well, I don't know. We've got our Punishing Fire, which is not nothing. That, God, that is the worst. This is just a comedy of errors. Okay, well. Yeah, I have to imagine he activates it at least once here. Okay, we would like to select all of the cards except for the cycling land. And, well, now that we know this, we'd like to put these on the bottom. Yeah, we are going to lose to this Thopter Foundry, which is really unfortunate because I can't imagine playing any worse than this, and I can certainly imagine several lands where we don't expose our Engineered Explosives to Detention Sphere. And many more where we kill Thopter Foundry instead of letting it beat us. I think I actually just want to dredge Life in the Loam here, but like, yeah, it's just so ugly. How did we lose this? We had like Witness and Slide and Engineered Explosives and somehow managed to end up with exactly none of it. Like, surely there is a world in which like he ends up with nothing and I end up with like the works, but it ain't this game. I also think that this mana base needs some retooling because, like, not being able to fetch a 5th land is just an embarrassment. But yeah, we're going to get absolutely destroyed by Thopter Foundry. So let's see if this is going to be too late. I have a feeling that it is, but yeah, like none of these cards do anything. And it isn't even like, no, they do nothing. It's like, no, they don't do anything. Like, looming back fetch lands that don't find more lands is useless. Having one Seismic Assault in a deck that, like, can't use fetch lands is useless. Tibalt is just, yeah. This is the first deck I've played where I just, like, am super down on what the deck is about. Like, it looks sweet on paper, and then it just doesn't play well at all. Like, everything is clunky. Like, I'm probably just upset because I threw away this game through, like, decisions on Eternal Witness and, like, misclick playing this land and then, like, trying to salvage my mana efficiency by playing Engineered Explosives and for some reason casting this Punishing Fire for, like, quote-unquote value. Like, this Thopter Foundry should for sure be dead. And then he would have played another. I would have... Well, I would have had Slide in play. I guess it wouldn't have mattered because he would have desphered the Slide. But... let's play a game. The game is attacking Jace the Mind Sculptor into the land of the Thopter Foundry. Let's see how Astral Slide works. I assume the sword still comes back, but... it does. Okay. So, Jace goes to 1. He still has lethal in play. I can EE for 3, which blows up my board, but gets back EE for 0 and blows up his. That doesn't seem good. Yeah, I think we just have to play EE for 0. activate it. Shove our Mox Diamond. Get back some lands. None of which we can actually play. And then discard our Wooded Foothills. So we can play another slide and slide out 4 things a turn. Does that get us anywhere? Like, we can't play either of these because we need them to, like, fuel our slide and Life from the Loam. I don't think this deck wants Wasteland. Like, it's a cute angle to just, like, Wasteland Loam lock someone, but... like, this deck just wants to hit its mana so badly. I just don't think it's an option. So... we're also just, like, vulnerable to a drawn relic whenever it happens. Like, even, like, a couple of turns down the line. Or just, like, the zillionth Oblivion Ring effect. Sure. Fortunately, we have another one of those. Don't have another witness. So... don't need that. That's fine. So we play this. We're not facing lethal next turn, which is awesome. We get Witness out of here. We draw another Windswept Heath that we don't need. And... yeah, the whole, like, 4 mana sources that are fetchable is just, like, absolutely atrocious. It's the worst thing. Like, we just spew so much equity here. Like, having, like, just 2 fewer fetches, 2 more duels would be enormous. Okay. Would like to use the ability. Do not want Tibalt. Literally just do not want. Don't need. Somehow we're still in this. And that's the thing that's the most beautiful. So, if he does nothing, then we're cycling Tranquil Ticket and sliding Witness out. And you're doing that anyway. We just... Okay. Puke. Okay, well... We already have Alum. Okay. Now we... I was going to say. Now I think we're dead. So, like... They take Seismic Assault. They have Crocus and Relic back up. This doesn't look particularly winnable. Yeah, I just can't imagine winning with this deck. Like, so there's the Windswept Heath issue, which, you know, we're aware of. There's this sort of, like, hybrid identity issue, where, like, the deck doesn't actually have a way to close, and so it's just vulnerable to a bunch of things at a bunch of points. Like, just peeling Relic off the top when we're just, like, in this slugfest. At some point, we should be able to protect ourselves against that. So, like, if you imagine Dredge, right? Like, Dredge is a deck that is very reliant on the graveyard. At some point, it just gets a bunch of 2/2 zombies into play. And, like, that's fine. That, like, if you Deathrite Shaman them, or Crypt them, or Leyline them after that point, like, you are so SOL. Anyway, we're dead this game. But, like, this deck doesn't have any way to, like, create discrete advantages, and the slots in which it would be trying to do that, it's instead playing cards like Tibalt to, like, try and get marginally ahead, like Scroll Rack, Life from the Loam, but, like, it can't leverage those things into anything meaningful. It just, like, messes around. And so, like, just takes forever, and then, like, they draw Wipe Away, or, like, takes forever and they draw Relic and Vendilion Click, or, like, takes forever and they draw literally any card in their deck that isn't, like, a creature that attacks. Or they draw, like, Force Will for, like, the card that we have to answer their creature that attacks, and then we die anyway. Regardless, I will be back for one more match, and I'll see you then.